Paul, you only write in series. Is there a particular reason why?
If I'm going to take the time to invest in characters, I want to use them. That's not to say I won't eventually write in shorter series. I mean, Heir to the Crown, not counting the side books, is going to be 15 books. Power Ascending and The Frozen Flame are both going to be 8-book series. I've already outlined another series that'll be 8 books. I do have in mind a story that would possibly be a trilogy. You know, really going back, it's always been my contention that I don't really want to read about the best swordsman in the world. I want to read about how he became the best swordsman in the world. So in something like Heir to the Crown, you know, the best fighter in the book really is Gerald. But when he starts, he's just a warrior, and it's his experiences throughout the entire series that makes him that amazing person at the end. So you haven't seen it yet, but by the time you get to the last book, you'll realize, oh, this is what he became.
And it's interesting because a lot of your characters doubt themselves.
Yeah, I think that's probably because a lot of us writers especially suffer from, what do we call it, imposter syndrome,
yeah.
Right? You're worried that maybe we're not good enough, that people aren't going to like what we're producing.
But then in your stories, you also have someone there supporting the other person who's effective in their own right.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part. People like to be supported. They like to have someone that's cheering them on. But once again, that works both ways, right? I mean, you look at Heir to the Crown, you have the character of Gerald. He's this old warrior who's essentially starts off, he's past his prime, if you like. He meets a young girl and they become friends, right? He supports her as much as she supports him. But the relationship goes both ways, and that's an important part of the entire series.
That's in all of your books, because in The Frozen Flame, you have Athgar and Italia supporting each other, but you also have Shaluk and Kargan supporting each other.
That's correct.
And then
it doesn't have to be people at odds with each other all the time. I prefer to have a nicer view of the world.
Yeah, and I've noticed that some people have commented that your characters get along too well. Can you speak to that?
I don't know if I would say they get along too well. If you look at lots of other stories, like look at Lord of the Rings, you know, the Fellowship gets put together, they get along just fine. There's not really a lot of animosity between them. And I think if I'm relying on two people in a group not getting along, I think I'm doing a disservice to the story. I mean, let's face it, these series are not meant to be a romance novel.
Yes.
So not that there's not romance in them, but they're primarily a fantasy story, either epic, sword and sorcery, or military, depending on which series you're looking at. So I don't want to detract from that too much.